Hi, my loves, and welcome to my channel. So I am trying to be much more active now on YouTube and recording at least once a week videos for you that are very related to the topics of the massive shift in consciousness. You see, part of my work, or a major component of my work, is to truly help and guide humanity into their sovereign power so that we can fully birth our light, because this is what is happening currently with all these upheavals, with all these shifts and changes collectively, but also inside of us. And in this video in particular, I want to discuss the topic of relationships. Dating in 2023 for many people, but even for those of you who are already in committed partnerships, is a big challenge. And I know many of my friends who are in real relationships, meaning they are devoted to one another, they are married, whatever it means for each and every one of us. This is not a channel of judgment. This is just a channel of expressing the different relationship types that are out there. Many of those friends of mine, they say, if I was single now, Anita, I wouldn't even know where to begin. You see, the dating scene has changed a lot the past years, and that's also due to the shift in consciousness. That's due to many people being on their spiritual journey, awakening, really tuning within themselves, checking in, what are my true trauma mechanisms that I'm playing out? What is the karma that I have in this life that I need to release? And some people really have heavy karmic imprints with others. And whether you believe in past lives or in karma, it doesn't really matter. You will feel in your experience how this is playing out for you. And again, it will be different for everybody. And why it is so challenging is because when we embark on a journey of self, on a journey of spiritual awakening, and we are cleaning out, especially the three lower power centers, so our root, our sacral, and our solar plexus, because this is where trauma is stored. This is where karmic imprints are held. That's why the womb is considered the portal where our own death and rebirths take place. And we have death and rebirths through many cycles in our lives in different areas. It's not just the actual physical birth to a child, but it's also the energetic one within ourselves. And those three power centers are what is being currently cleaned, because this is literally where our power is stored. So our root is very deeply connected to earth, but also to the material world, because what is our root? It's our safety, it's our security, it's our shelter, it's our safety. And these are all basic needs. And basic needs are directly connected to the material world, and they have to be fulfilled. Our root is also our support system. Our lower back in particular has issues when we are shaky in those areas. And the root energetically sits directly between our sexual organs and our anus, so in the area of the perineum. Our womb is obviously the sacral, the place where we store our sexual energy, our creation, what we are wanting to birth into this world. And then our solar plexus, which represents our confidence and also our relation to others. So these areas are undergoing a huge purification process, a huge clearing. And it is happening on a global scale for those that have chosen to do so, because not everyone is going to embark on this journey, because their souls didn't come here for that. And why I'm guiding you through such a huge turnaround to get to the relationship sector, you will know in a moment. The heart has its own function. The heart basically functions as a gate between our three lower power centers and our three upper. So basically our throat, our third eye, and our crown. This is what is considered our spiritual centers. And spiritual centers can't process negative emotions. That's why the heart gate, for example, can shut down the flow from the three lower power centers to the upper three spiritual centers, because they're not purified. And we'll often notice that when we want to express ourselves, so when we want to speak our truth, when we want to truly say what is anchored deep inside of us, but we cannot, it's like something is stuck in our throat and we can't speak. And that's because especially the womb is directly connected to our throat. Now, even if you're a man watching this, you might not have a physical womb, but you do still have an energetic womb space. And that counts for women as well, who have had their womb removed for several different reasons. So the energetic womb space is always there. The energetical umbilical cord is always there. And when we look at those 3 lower power centers and the 3 upper spiritual centers, this is what is also referred to as the Merkaba, our triangles that are connecting those parts together. And what connects them is the heart gate. The lungs are usually considered the seat of the soul. That's why they also have the branches of the tree. And that's why we say we take the first breath and we take the last breath. Now, when we go to relationships, this is the biggie, because what is more personal to us than our relationships to ourselves, relationship to our family, our friends, our business partners, co-workers, bosses, but especially our romantic partnerships. And because this is the closest that it gets to us, this is also the place where most of the damage is done, but where also most of the karmic shifts are now taking place. And going back to the work we do on ourselves, when we reach a certain level in our consciousness evolution, we begin to see the environment and our relationships, the connections with others very differently. We suddenly are able to draw boundaries. We can read the energy of another person, and we can move away from that much sooner than we were able to do before. So when we look at the dating scene, and especially in a lot of content that is out there from many dating coaches, but not just coaches, also regular people who have nothing to do with that industry in terms of work, but still, of course, have their channels and express themselves as they should. Unfortunately, we can see in much of those advices and what is being polarized and promoted is that there is a lot of broken people. And again, this is not a judgment. There's a lot of broken people sharing stories, sharing advices. And this is what is implanting itself as well a lot into humanity's consciousness if we haven't done the work and if we aren't really clear in what we are. And this leads very often to manipulation tactics in the dating scene, in relationships, and also to us not really tuning within and finding our truth, but listening to other stories and then believing that their stories are our stories. While we can take advices and while we can protect ourselves through other people's stories so we don't repeat them, everyone has their journey. And when we reach a certain level of consciousness, when we are embodied in our truth, in our power, we know who we are, and we radiate that love, we radiate that light, then finding the right partner for us becomes a playground with much less selection. And that's not because there aren't enough people out there. That's because perhaps the environment we surround ourselves with doesn't give us that opportunity for a prolonged time. Because when we go on a healing journey, we are asked to be alone. And I know for myself, I've been single for 8 years, which is the first time ever in my life that I've had this long process of being single. But it's also because I had to go through such a long initiation journey that my soul decided to do by its own, that there wasn't even a question for having someone else. And especially last year, when I completely purified myself, my womb, when I had my Kundalini awakening, it was like the universe was repelling everyone that wasn't the right match. Because once we are really purified, and here is the secret, sexual energy, especially our intimate encounters, they leave energetic debris and imprints in us. Because when we are intimate with another, our morphogenetic fields, our energy fields merge, and we download into each other our traumas, our fears, our frustrations. And this is in particular important for women because the woman receives, the womb stores. So that's why a lot of cleaning happens actually in that area. And when this area is purified and you're truly on a level for yourself in your consciousness and in your evolution, then you will notice that your body is repelling a lot of people because you just feel deep down as you're so connected to yourself now that it's not the time, you need to be alone. But also there is a component of divine intervention. Even if you try, for example, to be intimate, the universe always intervenes. And this is what happened to me because I reached a stage where If I'm intimate again with someone and I have been celibate for 18 months, it can only be my man in terms of the next man that I'm going to be in a real relationship, for me, a committed partnership with. And that's why this journey can feel lonely. That's why people tend to go into celibacy. And again, it's not necessarily a conscious decision, but it's more your body's wisdom taking over and guiding you through the journey. Because, when we are not really connected to ourselves and we haven't done that cleaning process, we can often not hear the language of the body. We cannot hear its whispers of the intuition of that knowing. And even if we do, we tend to ignore it. But once you reach a certain level again in your evolution, you cannot ignore it because you are so deeply connected to your higher self and simply to something higher than just you in the physical form. And because we are here to merge our divine existence with our physical one, we need to learn to put that into balance. And this is a process and journey that will look differently for everybody. There is no one size fits all, but the one thing we will have in common is a prolonged process of being alone. And when I say being alone, I don't mean you're lonely, but sometimes it can feel like that too. It's more of not having an actual intimate partner by our side. Now, again, for some people that healing takes place with a partner, and you will notice that when you have relationships that we call karmic. Now, karmic is every relationship because karma pretty much means it's destined. But when we speak of karmic, we speak of a difficult relationship, of a challenging relationship, a relationship that really brings out in us our triggers, our fears. But it's not necessarily a relationship that allows us to elevate to our fullest potential. It shows us like a mirror what we need to work on. You see, Venus in astrology represents relationship, and the symbol of a Venus is a circle with the bottom pillar and the line. And that pretty much looks like a mirror. If you hold it, it looks like a mirror. And that's our relation to self and to others that's being mirrored in a partnership. So the dating scene is challenging, is difficult because the dynamics are changing, but also please remember, we are recoding love. We are recoding the love template, and every relationship cycle is brought in by a generation. Before, people were entering relationships, especially marriages, because of safety and security. These days, we don't do that. These days, we want a real connection. We want a purpose together. We want to build and grow together. So the dynamics of that have completely shifted. And of course, when we make our own money, when we are independent, when we are self-sufficient, when we are healed, the game changes because now the partners that you would want to be with are different than the partners you would want to be with in the past and you attract. And I can tell you this from my own experience that the men I'm attracting now are of a very different caliber than the man I used to attract before. And this is how you can notice it. You notice the shift first in you, but then of course in your environment and how it responds to you. Also, many people that are in relationships, they are going through a lot of challenges, especially when they have been together for a long time, because when you don't grow together, then the shifts and the struggles, the discrepancies, the disagreements can grow too. And on my channel, I speak a lot about astrology because I study astrology, I study human design, I study the occult teachings. I always bring in the component of the astrological cycles because whether we like it or not, the movement of the planets dictates the energies that are coming into Earth, and with that, the cycles in our lives as well. We are born under certain placement for a reason. Now, the nodes of the moon, which are considered the south and the north node, are usually points that correct our destiny. They are destiny points because they're the most fated ones. So if we are, let's say, on a wrong trajectory, or we are supposed to go a different direction, they kick in and they make us change things and take different decisions very often, especially through a crisis, depending on which house for you it takes place. And not all eclipses are going to affect you likewise, but if they're affecting your sun, your moon, your rising, if they're affecting directly your own nodes, meaning a nodal return or any other planet that falls into that, you will feel it, especially if it's a close conjunction, meaning in a close degree of where the eclipse is taking place and in what sign, and in what sign the degree is in. Now, with the nodes being in Aries and Libra now, Libra is a sign of relationships. Relationships of all kinds. It is ruled by Venus. Aries is ruled by Mars. So here we have the masculine Mars and the feminine Venus coming together. So Mars rules Aries, right? And Mars is the warrior planet. It is a planet also that we often refer to our energy. It's a planet of sex as well. So your Mars placement often shows your sex drive and how you assert yourself in your energy and in your life. So here we have the theme of me versus others, but not in a battle, not in a fight. It is understanding where we are playing out all relationship dynamics that no longer serve us. This can be people-pleasing mechanisms. This can be our fears of commitment and of relationships. And it invites us to really look within and be honest and say, okay, how have I played out my own story? How have I identified myself with my own story that has led me to certain behaviors, that has led me to create certain cycles that were repeating themselves? And this counts for singles, and this counts also for all of you who are in committed relationships. So this is going to be a new cycle of a complete shift that is further calling in the recoding of the love template. So you will notice in your life, and that can be again in different areas, that you're being asked to make decisions, sometimes tough decisions, where certain relationships will be dissolved, whether you like it or not, but to make space for new ones, more aligned ones now to come in. And there is a reason why Aries and Libra in particular right now are playing a huge role as we are moving closer to 2025, 2027, where there is a tremendous tipping point into the new era, into the age of Aquarius that we are all headed to. So this is a cleanup. Everything that is happening now is a cleanup. And the last cleanup will take place with the nodes in Virgo and Pisces, because Pisces is the last sign before we enter the completely new cycle of the nodes that are shifting. Now, I'm not an astrologer, so please don't take my words for granted. I'm explaining the cycles here with you, just so that you can get a better picture of what is happening energetically. And I am sure that you're already feeling it, because I see this with my clients, I see this with myself, with my family members. It is already playing out. When you are a person that is looking for a partner and you're tired of doing it all alone, I want you to remember one thing. So much in our lives is not in our control. And particularly in the Western societies, we like to believe that. We like to believe that everything is in our control and we create everything we want. Partially, this is true because we have the power. But you see, the path of destiny is actually the path of soul alignment, meaning when we are aligned with our soul's truth and we trust and surrender to that path, we know when to take inspired action and when to be patient. And we have that in that dance, in that balance and natural rhythm, because this is polarity, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. Then we allow the universe to deliver to us, but also we are always going to be on our destined path. You see, free will is technically an illusion, because what we refer to as free will is often the mind taking control, taking charge, but that is not really free will, because what we do in those moments often is just react to triggers, react to stimuli, react to fears. And it's just like a ping pong game. You are not rooted firmly in yourself in those moments. You react. But being on the path of your destiny, being aligned with the soul, is what will allow you to trust and have things come to you. And why I'm saying this is that much of our relationships are destined. They're fated, and they're coming to us at different times in our lives for different reasons, but we need to learn to trust our cycles. We need to learn to really tune within and do not have the mofo effect, keep going out to parties and just to mingle, to meet people, go on dating apps, None of that is wrong. But when you are in tune with yourself, there is no fear of missing out, because you know the moment you are meant to meet this person, you will get an instinct, you will get an impulse to take inspired action, to go to a place even you don't feel like doing it at all. Usually love comes unexpectedly. Many people out there are calculative about their relationships because of what they're searching. And again, that is okay. Everyone needs to discover what is true, what is right for them, and what works for them. But if you really want a true union, and I'm speaking of a divine union where two both healed partners come together, and remember, we are healing all our lives. It's not that we are going to be completely without anything inside of us, but the level that it extends itself, the level it plays out is going to be a different one. So when we are entering that divine union, then love becomes freedom. Love doesn't become anymore, I own you, you own me. It becomes free, it becomes divine, it becomes co-creation, and it really becomes that relationship, that love that allows us to flourish, to glow. Women in particular, when they are in the right relationship, when they are loved right, there is a certain aura, there's a certain glow that we have. And I see this in many friends that I have that have been single for a long time. The moment they're in the right relationship, they shift and they enter their feminine like that. Because even though while we can do things alone, but the pressure goes away. The pressure goes away and we can lean back, because now we no more need to do it need to do it all alone. There is someone that is here to support us, to provide with us. You see, the masculine is the protector of the earthly realm, of the material realm, and the feminine of the spiritual realm. And we both each know our role. We can come together in a healthy dance of the masculine and feminine energies, but this requires for us to also really be in touch with our own masculine and feminine energies. Unfortunately, especially in the spiritual communities, many men, they tend to go too much to the other side of the pendulum, meaning they're becoming too feminine, too passive. While we need to go with the flow in life, for a man, it is important to have structure, to know what he wants and to go after that. For a man, it isn't natural to just sit back and allow everything to just come to him. It doesn't mean you can't do that or it's wrong if you do, but you need to know what your main energy is like. Now, there are some men that are naturally more feminine, that is fine, because they will attract women that are naturally more masculine. Again, we are all different in our energetics. But that's why even more important to know yourself, to know what matters for you, what is important for you. If you're single, do not hang out with frustrated single girlfriends that tell you their horror stories and you just take it in, because unknowingly you make that your truth as well. You need to hang out then with people who are in real unions, who are full of love, because this is what you will take in and you will see that this exists, it is possible. My sister said to me that she is amazed how I went through so many trial and errors in my personal relationships and many disappointments and hurts, yet I am full of love, and my perspective to all of that is very different. And that is normal when you're on this journey, because you recognize the divine truth and the divine love behind everything, while setting your boundaries, while knowing what you want, and while taking inspired action. You are not a puppet. You see, everything is a dance. So when you are right now with those nodal shifts and the energies that are playing out in a relationship where it's shaky, it's time to really look within and see how you want your relationships moving forward to look like. How do you see yourself in relation to others? You see, we had the nodes before in Taurus and Scorpio, which was releasing trauma, releasing sexual imprints as well that no longer serve us. And in Taurus, because it was the North Node where we are moving towards, it was all about redefining our values. Taurus is values, redefining our material wealth. What do we want financially in our life? Because it is linked. There's a reason why the Wall Street has a bull as its symbol. It is really understanding who we are, what we want. And now with those cycles closing, we are asked to implement these newfound values, this new sense of self-worth within us into our relationships. So Many couples are together for a different reason. Many couples haven't had for the longest time intimacy. And let me tell you, while this can be a phase, it is not natural. It is not natural because intimacy, especially in a partnership, plays a huge role. Otherwise, we can just be roommates. So we have to be honest with ourselves and with our partners. If you're single, trust. And I know it's hard sometimes. I'm speaking here really of experience. Trust that when the divine timing comes, you will know what to do. In the meantime, if you feel like going out there, like going to date, meeting new people, do that. But always tune within, find your own truth, really tune into other people's energy and observe whether that is what you want. And especially do not fall for the trap of your old patterns. Sometimes we can feel lonely and we go for intimacy with people that we know we shouldn't go for, because you see, sex is never just sex. Ever, ever, ever. Especially for women. Men have an easier time to distinguish between both. It's just the nature of them. Whereas for us women, we can do that too. But we can only do that when it's a man we really have zero interest in. The moment it's someone we have the slightest interest in, we develop emotions and feelings, whether we want it or not. And you need to begin as a woman to honor your womb. Many of you might hate me for saying this right now, but the reason why, especially relationships and finding the right partner and commitment issues is such a big topic, was part of a natural cycle. It was introduced, number one. Number two, it's because we women were giving our power, our womb, our sexual energy too easily away. What is there for a man, for a natural hunter to conquer, to court, if we give him what he wants like that? Now you may say, well, Anita, if he doesn't get it from me, he'll get it from others. That is correct. But you are you, others are others. So you need to again know what you want, what is important for you. Know and honor your body, honor your womb, honor the power of your sexual energy, of your portal. The more you do that, the more you say no to what isn't aligned for you, the more what is a yes can come to you. You see, for new things to come, the old must leave. And that is the theme of Aries and Libra. The old relationship patterns, dynamics, even people will have to leave, while others, more aligned, will enter for us. So be kind to yourself in this process. Always reconnect back to you, reconnect to your higher self, reconnect to your path. And if you're struggling to do that, if you're struggling to know what is your truth, then begin to just connect to your body. Start with that. Because the body speaks for itself, but we need to give it a voice. We can give it a microphone, or we can just give it the space to speak, but we need to listen. Allow yourself to become the observer of what is happening rather than the person that identifies themselves with it. Why we struggle with much is because we identify ourselves with that experience. And you can see my throat is wanting to clear out. So we identify ourselves with so many experiences, and this identification, this attachment to those experiences is what creates the struggle. We identify ourselves so much with our struggle. We believe we are who we are because we went through this struggle. Part of it is true because it shapes us, it forms us, we learn, we overcome. But see it as an observer, as an experience you had, rather as an experience that made you, that shaped you. Sovereign power is all about coming home back to yourself, clearing everything that you are not, the not self theme, knowing what you want and being firm about it. Many people are living in fear of rejection, abandonment, being judged. When you are in sovereign power, none of this has a space. None of this even matters, because you know who you are, and you know who you are in your relationships. When you know who you are in your relationships and in yourself, you trust. Then trust becomes easy. You see, when you're on top of your game with anything in your life, then it's easy to be happy. It's easy to feel aligned. It's easy to talk about love and relationships when you are in a happy one. But it is in those moments when you are not on top of your game, when you maybe had a hard time in whatever area, in particular your relationships, and you can still speak of love, and you can still use non-judgment, and you can realize that we are all going through cycles and shifts, this is power. This is true power, because in that moment when the right person for you comes in, can you imagine the state of amplification that takes place? I thank you all for being here with me today. Leave your comments below if that resonated with you, if you're currently going through these changes. We all are. Know that in a year from now, even in 6 months from now, your life will be very different. And that is the magic of letting go of the old, trusting the unknown, and trusting that what is you will come to you. This is destiny. This is destiny that allows you to use your discernment, that allows you to just surrender. But it also allows you to see that life is actually so much simpler when we stop controlling that which we cannot control. Again, tune out, especially social media posts, talking against men, talking against women, all this labeling, this titling, tune out from it. Keep your personal life personal. Seek out guidance from a coach, from someone who truly is in that embodiment that can guide you through the process of the changes in your relationships, maybe the divorce you have to undergo, maybe the breakup you have to decide on. And surround yourself with people that are in this energy, that can really hold space for you and allow you to find your truth and not just impose their opinions and their story onto you. Sending you all so much divine love and truth. We are all in this together, and know that we are recoding, and recoding means transition. Transition is never easy. We are right now in the birth canal of the womb, but we are birthing our light in all areas of our life.